Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the Monday Night Football Showdown slate on DraftKings for Week 2. We got a game between the Browns and the Jets. Pretty interesting game, especially on the Jets side, because they are very injury depleted right now. I know they have a couple of guys on defense that are injured and are not going to play. Sam Darnold is out for this game, and he's going to be out for at least a couple more weeks, which means we're going to see Trevor Siemian starting for the Jets. Le'Veon Bell is also questionable. Although it looks like he's going to play, still an injury we have to watch as well. So the Jets are really injury depleted right now. This game opened on or at least on the spread. It opened as the Browns being 1-point favorites, and since then the line has moved to 6. The Browns are 6-point favorites. So those injuries have had a big effect in the Vegas totals for this game and the Vegas outcome. Browns getting a lot of love now that the Jets are so injury depleted. So we'll definitely talk through the Jets side, talk about Siemian, if he's playable, if we want to pay up for Le'Veon Bell, even though he could be a little gimpy in this game with his injury. We'll also talk about the receivers for each team. Just go through the player pool, hit on the guys that I think are playable. We'll talk about some values. We'll look at a couple lineup builds as well. We'll talk through where you want to go at captain, who makes sense as the best captain play on this slate. Before we do get started, though, guys, make sure you drop a like down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so that way you'll get notified every time I upload. And let me know down in the comment section below some of your favorite plays on this Showdown slate. Who do you guys want to play at captain? Who's your top captain on this Showdown slate? Feel free to comment anything down below. Give me some feedback. Always appreciate your guys' comments. But starting off at the top with Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham, obviously one of the highest upside plays on this slate, probably the highest upside play on the slate. I don't think anyone has like the 30, 35, 40-point upside that Odell Beckham has. So for that reason, he makes for a really good captain play on this slate. This game does feel like a game where Nick Chubb could be utilized a lot, especially because Cleveland's backup running back is out for this game, which could lead to Nick Chubb getting a little bit more work, seeing a little bit more passing game work as well. And with the Browns being 6-point favorites, you expect them to have a lead in this game and Nick Chubb to be pounding the rock. So Nick Chubb might be the best captain play, especially because you get those savings going down from Odell. But I definitely want to get Odell into as many lineups as possible, whether I'm playing him at captain or if I'm playing him in the flex. I want to get him in there. If I'm playing him at captain, then I definitely want to put Baker Mayfield in my lineup. And if I'm playing like Baker Mayfield in my captain spot, then I want to pair him with at least one or two of the pass catchers. You always want to make sure to correlate your lineups like that on these Showdown slates. Showdown slates are usually not slates where I only play one lineup. I usually try and play as many lineups as I can on a Showdown slate just because there's so much variance. I just kind of want to have as many different combinations as possible. If I were to just be playing one lineup, though, I think it'd be close between either Odell or Nick Chubb at captain. Those would probably be the two guys I'd look to, but when we get towards the end of the video, we'll build out a Odell at captain lineup, and then we'll build out a Nick Chubb at captain lineup. But talking through the top guys, Odell's my favorite. I really like Nick Chubb a lot given his price tag. Between Le'Veon and Odell, I think I'd prefer Odell. Le'Veon is questionable. He's expected to play. It is a shoulder injury. He could be a little bit gimpy in this game. Reports have already come out that Ty Montgomery is expected to get a little bit more work. Le'Veon Bell did play literally every snap in the last game, in the Week 1 game against Buffalo. 17 carries for 60 yards. Wasn't very effective. Did see 9 targets, 6 catches for 32 yards, did get a receiving touchdown, had 23 DraftKings points. It was a really good game from Bell. I don't expect him to be as heavily involved as he was in the last game. I don't expect him to play as many snaps. I think we're going to see Ty Montgomery get on the field a bit. And with Bell being 11,600, that does concern me a bit. So I think I'd lean Odell Beckham for just 200 more over Le'Veon Bell. Between the quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Trevor Siemian, there is a big price difference. Baker Mayfield is $11,200. Trevor Siemian is $3,000 cheaper. He's $8,200. I think Siemian's going to be a very interesting play on this slate just because he's so cheap. Rarely do you get starting quarterbacks for that cheap. But with him being a backup and like not being priced like he's a starter or an everyday starter, that's why you're seeing him at $8,200. Like if Sam Darnold was on this slate and he was starting, Sam Darnold would be like $10,000, $11,000. With Siemian being the backup and getting the start, he's not priced like he's an everyday starter. So you're getting him at $8,200. I know he's not that good of a quarterback, but rarely do we ever get quarterbacks that cheap. Could be a very interesting captain play because he's so cheap. If you play him at your captain, he's $12,300. Usually I like to play running backs and receivers at captain if I can, but could see doing a couple lineups with Trevor Siemian at captain and then pairing a couple pass catchers. But with the correlation, like if I'm playing Odell at captain, then I probably want to have Mayfield. If I'm playing like Le'Veon Bell or even a guy like Jamison Crowder in my captain, then I want to have Trevor Siemian in those lineups, because if guys like Bell, Crowder go off, there's a good chance the quarterback is contributing, especially because Bell is so involved in the passing game. There's a chance he could get a couple receiving touchdowns from Siemian. So you always want to make sure to correlate your lineups. But let's talk about some of the other plays on this showdown slate. Looking through some of the value, there's not much value that I'm really in love with. Right now, I think the best values are probably the wide receiver threes for both teams. You have Rashad Higgins at 4,200 and you have Demaryius Thomas at 3,800. It's going to be very interesting to see how Demaryius Thomas plays with his new team. If he does play, he is questionable. Higgins is questionable as well. Those are going to be two injuries we need to keep an eye on. Thomas is going to be playing with Siemian. Don't love that spot for Thomas with Siemian as his quarterback, and I don't want to go too heavy on the Jets pass catchers here because I just don't really know what to expect from them with Siemian at quarterback. But Thomas is very cheap. He should probably see about 5 or 6 targets. He's only 3,800. He could potentially be a value play. You have Ty Montgomery all the way down here at 1,600. Like I said, I expect Le'Veon Bell plays. If by some chance Le'Veon Bell does not play, then Ty Montgomery becomes the best value play on the slate, and it's not even close. But even with Le'Veon expect to play, it looks like Montgomery's still going to see additional playing time. Like I said, right here in the blurb, Montgomery could see added playing time Monday against the Browns, even though Le'Veon Bell expects to play. Manish Mehta of the New York Daily Times reports. In the Week 1 game, Montgomery only got 2 carries for 4 yards, barely got on the field. I expect he gets more work this game. We're not going to see Le'Veon Bell play 100% of the snaps in this game. I think it's going to be more of like an 80-20 split, an 85-15 split. So Montgomery could be very interesting at 1,600. Could see additional pass game work as well. Could see some of that third down work go to Ty Montgomery. He's very cheap at 1,600. He's going to be really low owned. I wouldn't want to play a ton of him, but if you're playing multiple lineups, I think Montgomery is someone you want to have in your player pool and get a little bit of exposure to. Then one more guy I want to talk about is Ryan Griffin. I think he could be very interesting in the showdown slate. He is the tight end 1 for the Jets. He is their starting tight end with Chris Herndon suspended. Griffin did see 4 targets in the Week 1 game, 3 catches for 10 yards. Obviously, 4 DraftKings points is not a good score, but I think this could be a spot where we see Ryan Griffin pick up a few more targets. With Trevor Siemian starting at quarterback, you usually don't want your backup quarterback just going out there and throwing the ball deep downfield. You want to kind of ease him into the game, whether that's just handing the ball off to the running back or just looking for short dump-offs. I think we could see the tight end pick up a few of those like short dump-offs. Guys like Jamison Crowder who run low A-dot routes could be guys that really benefit from Siemian at quarterback. So Ryan Griffin's very interesting to me on this showdown slate. He's only $800. He is incredibly cheap. You're not expecting him to put up 30 DraftKings points, but if he finds the end zone, which is possible, you could definitely see him being one of the best value plays on the slate. So when we build out a couple lineups, Ryan Griffin might be someone we want to consider in one of those lineups. But that's kind of who I'm looking at this on this showdown slate. Like always, you got the kickers, you got the defense you could go to as fillers, but usually those are never plays I want to go too heavy on. Usually the kickers and defenses you want to target in games that are expected to be low scoring, and honestly this game could be pretty low scoring. Right now it does have a 45 implied total, which is pretty low for today's NFL games. So I could see going to the kickers or the defense, but like the Browns defense, they're in a really good spot, but they did get priced up for this matchup with Trevor Siemian. They're 5,400. I don't really want to go to the Jets D. I think I'd rather play the kickers over the Jets D, but again, these are only going to be like fillers in your lineup. If you just need value, then I could see throwing the kickers in there. But let's go ahead and build out a couple lineups real quick. We'll do one with Odell as our captain, and then we'll do one with like either Nick Chubb or Trevor Siemian at captain. So starting off with Odell at captain, if you're playing him as your captain, you want to pair him with Baker Mayfield. That's just how you want to correlate on a showdown slate. So when you go with those two guys, that leaves you $52.75 remaining per player. It's really tough to get 3 of the top guys in your lineups. Like if you're playing Odell and Baker Mayfield, you probably don't want Nick Chubb in there just because those guys negatively correlate. I'd say we probably want to get Siemian if possible, get the quarterback on the other side of the game. He's only 8,200 as well, which is really good value for a quarterback. When you plug in Siemian, that leaves you 4,300 remaining per player. So there are a couple values I talked about, whether you want to go to Demaryius Thomas or Rashad Higgins. I think since we got Simeon in there, we might want to pair him with one of his pass catchers. So let's just plug Thomas in there for now at 3,800. That gives us 4,550 remaining for 2 spots. So there's a couple ways we could go here. If we wanted to get to like David Njoku, if we were to plug him in, that would leave us enough for Sam Ficken, for the Jets kicker, who we could potentially consider. So if you wanted to go that route, you can plug in Ficken, but I usually don't like to play kickers if I don't have to. So if we go a little bit cheaper off of Njoku, if you go to Rashad Higgins, let's see, that wouldn't leave you enough to really go anywhere. I think you either probably go like Njoku and a kicker, or you might try and get up to like Robbie Anderson. If you were to plug in Robbie Anderson, that would leave you enough for like Ty Montgomery or the wide receiver 4 for the Browns, Damian Ratley. But if Rashad Higgins were to sit, then Ratley would become the wide receiver 3 in the depth chart and might see a few more targets. Could be pretty interesting if Higgins is out. I could see going that route and plugging him in at 1,800. But I talked about my guy Ryan Griffin. If you want to go that route and put him in there at 800, that'd leave you enough salary to get all the way up to Jamison Crowder, who I think is a guy that gives you a lot of upside. Saw an incredible amount of targets in the Week 1 game. 17 targets, 14 catches for 99 yards, just missed the 100-yard bonus. Don't expect that kind of targets for Crowder again, but with the backup quarterback in, a guy like Crowder could really benefit from that. I don't expect Simeon to be throwing the ball deep downfield. He's going to look short for guys that run low A-dot routes like Crowder, like the tight end Ryan Griffin. So that's another way that you could go. But let's do one more lineup build with Chubb as our captain. Assuming the Browns are playing from ahead and they're running the ball a lot, then that would make Nick Chubb a really good play and make him probably a guy you want to consider at captain because he is a little bit cheaper as well. If you're playing Chubb at captain, you probably don't need to pair him with Baker Mayfield because Chubb can get rushing touchdowns. He's not a guy that's going to get a ton of receiving touchdowns. So I think if we're playing Chubb, we probably want to go to a couple guys on the Jets side. Like if Chubb's the highest scoring play on the slate, then there's a good chance Cleveland was probably playing from ahead a lot in this game, and then that's going to force the Jets to throw a lot. So we probably want to get some pass catchers from the Jets side. We want to get the quarterback in there. You could probably go to Le'Veon if you wanted to in this lineup at 11,600, because if you do that, that leaves you still 5K remaining per player. So you could go to Demaryius Thomas, who I think could be an interesting value. That gets you back up to 5,700, and then you could plug in another cheap play, and then that'd probably leave you enough to get like all the way to one of these guys. Like if you want to go to maybe Crowder, that'd leave you 3,400, so that'd leave you enough to play one of the kickers. You could go that route. If you wanted to get up to Jarvis Landry, then that would leave you enough to play Ratley, who, like I said, could be interesting if Rashad Higgins were to sit. If you wanted to go all the way down to Ryan Griffin, like I said, I don't want to put too much stock into Griffin. He's not someone I want to go too heavy on. But if you are playing multiple lineups, like 3 or more lineups, I could see throwing him in one of those. Plug him in at 800. That pretty much is going to allow you to get like all the way up to the top. You'd be just short of Baker, but you could still get Jarvis Landry in there, or you could do a little bit of tweaking to get up to Baker. You could probably take Demaryius Thomas out, go a little bit cheaper maybe for one of the kickers, and then that would leave you enough to play Baker. So that's another lineup build that you could do. I think my favorite way to go is probably to pay up for either Odell or Chubb at captain, depending on how you think the game's going to go. Pair them with who they correlate well with. So if you're playing Odell at captain, you want to have Baker Mayfield in there. If you're playing Chubb at captain, you probably want to have some pass catchers from the other side of the game. So you probably want to have Simeon as the quarterback. You want to have a couple pass catchers. But that's kind of where I'm looking to for this showdown slate, guys. Like I said, I do play a lot of lineups for these showdown slates. I never want to just play one lineup. It's just too variant with a one-game slate. It's really variant, so you want to get as many combinations as possible. DraftKings, I know they have like a really low dollar 20 max that you can play if you have the time to build out 20 lineups, or if you know how to use a lineup optimizer. I think that's a great contest to play for these showdown slates. But yeah, guys, good luck. I do appreciate you watching the video. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. If you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. Let me know some of your favorite plays for this showdown slate. What's the route that you're going to be taking? Who are you going to be playing at captain? Feel free to comment that down below. Hope you guys did enjoy, though. Like I said, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to get notified every time I upload. And good luck on this showdown slate. Peace.